Call the Carlisle Village Council meeting to order. Would everyone please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Bicknell.
Here.
Mr. Jewett.
Here.
Mr. Lamb. Mr. McIntosh.
Here.
Ms. Tankersley.
Here.
Mr. Humphries.
Here.
Mayor Winkler.
Here. Do we have a motion to suspend the reading of the minutes by the clerk?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Tankersley.
Yes.
Mr. Humphries.
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell.
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh.
Yes.
Mr. Jewett.
Yes.
Mayor Winkler.
Yes. Before you are the regular meeting minutes of October the 9th. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. McIntosh.
Yes.
Mr. Jewett.
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley.
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mr. Humphries.
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell.
Yes.
Mayor Winkler.
Yes. Regular meeting minutes of October the 9th have been adopted. Next is our public forum. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address council this evening? Seeing none, we'll close the public forum. We'll move on to council reports. Mr. Humphries, would you like to start this evening?
Thank you. First off, I would like to acknowledge the construction company that came in and did the blacktopping. Once they did get into the actual physical phase, I thought they did an amazing job. The roads are nice and smooth, and I thought they did a really good job there. I would like to report that I did go to a Warren County Municipal League meeting at Shaker Run, and the topic was area progress. So a lady that has been running that for a long time now is named Arlen Tanhill, and she's just a ball full of energy and is an amazing lady that just really loves what she does. And what she leads up is a leadership program that will start in February, and I am going to sign up for that. I will be a participant for this next 2019. And I'd also like to commend the superintendent, school board, and the staff for an amazing event today. One of the things I was thinking of that just brought back is when we've done Pledge of Allegiance in here. I've been fortunate enough to be in here with 25 people, and it just resonates. But today, to have the whole school say the pledge together, it's pretty dynamic. So I'd like to thank everybody for that, and that's for my evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tankersley?
Yeah, I just want to comment on how great the groundbreaking was today. It was handled very well, and I'm real excited to see it be built, and great thing for Carlisle. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McIntosh?
I'll piggyback on that. I would like to thank Mr. Hook and the school board and staff for inviting us and asking us to be a part of that. It was a very cool event. In a town like this, there's not many events like that happen where, I think it's safe to say almost probably half the population was there if you count the 1,700 students, and there was at least 200 or 300 other people there. So there's not many events that happen like to get that kind of turnout. And it's pretty cool, and just a reminder of why we live here and the values we have here and what's important. But I would like to say, just a warning, everyone please be patient for the next 2 years. Traffic's going to be all turned around, at this intersection out here, and even 123. There's going to be a lot more trucks, a lot more people in general. So please be patient. It's going to be interesting for the next 2 years once they really start, moving some dirt and having all the construction equipment in here. Other than that, just a reminder that the Lioness Club is having their holiday bazaar November 4th at 12 p.m. So if you can turn out, support them, that would be great. And please get out and vote November 6th. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Big Dell.
Just to echo off everyone else, I thought today's event was a really good event. A lot of, like Brad said, almost half the population. It's good to see the community come together in a positive note, and just excited to see where it goes and what it ends up being. Also, a reminder that Beggars Night is the October 31st from 6 to 8, and also to get out and vote. It's very important. It's a civil duty. That is all.
Thank you. Mr. Jewett.
I want to congratulate the school board and Superintendent Hook on that. I was not able to attend today due to work obligations, but I'm excited for the future of Carlisle. I drove past this evening on my way home and seen the dozers and the pile of dirt sitting there, so exciting times, and I will also encourage people to get out and vote on Election Day. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Land.
First, I'd like to thank Mr. Hook for having us today. It's pretty awesome to be a part of it. I don't know who was more excited, me or the rest of the kids that are going to get to enjoy the school in the next few years, but it's a great investment. I think investing in the children of the community might be one of the best ways to move any place forward. On top of that, last weekend I participated in the Carlisle High School baseball golf outing. They do a fundraiser every year. It went pretty well as far as I know. Coach Hawkins was pleased with the turnout. And I'm reading now for the second time, the Carlisle Lions Club is going to have the Veterans Day recognition on the 11th. So I'd like to see everybody out there for that. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We'll close council report and move on to mayor's report. And just on the Veterans Day recognition, the city will be having the Veterans Day recognition on Sunday, the 11th, November the 11th, from 2 to 4 at the Carlisle Lions Club building. I'd like to invite anyone in the community that would like to come, even if you're not a veteran, if you'd like to just come and thank a veteran for their service. We'll be having refreshments. Haven't nailed down a guest speaker yet, but I'm still working on that, and hope to see you there. Also, I'm glad someone mentioned Beggars Night, because I did have a phone call this afternoon wanting to know the date and time. So, and I'd also like to thank the school as well for inviting us over today for their festivities. I think most everyone around this dais is a Carlisle graduate, and we're all very excited to see the new school come up from the ground and see the kids get in there to enjoy it. So that's all I have. We'll close mayor's report, move on to manager's report.
Thank you. I don't really have a whole lot to add. I think the roads look excellent. I'd like to thank John Jurgensen is the company that did the paving. They've done a lot of paving jobs for us in the past. I think they do an excellent job. They work very well with the village and with staff. Mr. Dan Casson was on that project and helped make sure that everything went smoothly. Very much appreciate that. The groundbreaking today was just a fun event. I'm not sure. I know that I've not participated in something of that scale before, and not sure that I'll have a chance to participate in the future. Not a whole lot of $40–50 million buildings get built around here, but that was exciting. I thought, as I watched it, it was, I think, actually a good visible representation of large projects. Not that our road paving can compare to something as big as a school, but if you looked at the amount of people it takes to make those projects work, whether it's our state representatives and senators who provide certain funding for grant opportunities from the various contractors and staff, I thought, this kind of is a good visual representation of all the behind-the-scenes stuff that it takes to make large projects happen. So I thought that was kind of neat, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We have no committee reports this evening, no old business, but under new business, Mrs. Tankersley has asked me she has something under new business.
I would like to interrupt at this point. I would like to, we need to nominate a deputy mayor, and I would like to nominate Brad McIntosh as a deputy mayor.
And I would like to second that nomination.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call.
Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Abstain.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. Lamb?
This is under the impression that Mr. McIntosh is willingly wanting this position.
I will accept.
Yes.
Mr. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Congratulations, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad, for stepping up for us.
Also, we have one other item of business. We have had a member, longtime member of the Planning Commission, Mr. Bob Rogers, has resigned his position on Planning Commission, and would like to have a motion to be able to accept Mr. Rogers' resignation.
Well, I would like to thank him for all his time on Planning Commission. And we were kind of talking about it earlier. We weren't sure how long it was, but it's got to be, what, 20 to 30 years at least?
He's been on there over 20 years.
So I would like to thank him and wish him well. I will make a motion to accept his resignation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes.
Mr. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Yes, wish Mr. Rogers well in his future endeavors.
If I would just like to publicly thank Mr. Rogers. I've only been able to work with him to this level for the last year. But looking back at old planning commission member or minutes for research, or his name is all over it. He's served this town for a very long time. I know that he's indicated to me that, you know, he served for so long, it's time for him to move on, but he felt so dedicated to this town and didn't want to leave the commission lacking membership when we were down a few members, that he's purposely stayed on to make sure that the wheels of government kept working. And, you know, it's that level of dedication and service that I think is really refreshing to see and will be very difficult to replace.
Speaking of that, do we need to, we still have all of the vacancies that resulted from Mr. McEldowney's resignation, correct?
Correct.
If we do, if we fill those, do we have to do those one by one, or?
Assuming
one
that there is
motion?
one candidate for all the positions, I don't think
Oh,
that
there's
we
one
need to
candidate.
do it individually, but that's an assumption.
Can we, do we know what those are?
I feel like I'm getting stared at.
I know Planning Commission's one.
They should be updated in the book.
Okay, so it looks like it is, Mr. McAdowney was the chair of the Economic Development Committee.
I've got that.
Okay, so that's been filled. He was the council member representative of Area Progress Council.
I go to those.
I was gonna say, since I'm relatively new to my first area progress council tomorrow, I don't know that I would feel comfortable doing that yet.
Okay, so it sounds like Councilmember
Area
Humphries
Progress.
has an interest, perhaps, but,
Do you have an interest in that, Mr. Humphries?
Tomorrow will make my second one this year.
let's see, he was on Planning Commission. Mr. McAdowney served on the Volunteer Police Dependents Board. Mr. Bicknell is currently a council member on that. We need two. As a reminder, that's a board that should never meet, that we should never have a reason for them, but it is still a vacancy. And he was the elected official representative for the Warren County Health District Advisory Council. I'm not really familiar with the nuances of that particular group. I believe they do meet the third Thursday of each month, but I'm not sure how active they are. And that is it.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Humphries to the Area Progress. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the correct title.
Area Progress Council of Warren County.
Area Progress Council of Warren County.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mr. Humphries?
Abstain.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Humphries.
Thank you.
On the, I lost it somewhere, economic development, did you say you are taking?
I've already
action on-
moved it.
Yeah, well, I think we
Okay,
did
so
that
we
last
did that
month.
one.
Okay, I must have missed that one.
So it looks like that leaves the volunteer,
Could we do the next three as one?
Volunteer Police Dependents Board, Planning Commission, and the
Warren
Warren
County
County Health District Advisory Council.
We could do that by one motion if it's one person.
If it's one person, I would say yes.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Lamb to Planning Commission, Police Dependency Board, is that right?
Volunteer Police Dependents Board.
Volunteer Police Dependence Board and the Warren County Health District Advisory Council.
I will second-
If he's willing to do that.
I will second that motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh,
Yes.
Mr. Humphries,
Yes.
Mr. Bignall,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Abstain.
Mayor Winkler.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Bland.
So do we need to have Ms. Duffy advertise for
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
replacement?
we'll advertise.
For the Planning Commission resident position.
So looking ahead, the next two council meetings are November, if you can believe it, 13th and the 27th. So I don't know if the council's kind of done it a couple different ways, where they've had off-night interviews, or they've had interviews the same evening as council.
It'll kind of depend on the interest it generates.
Agendas.
Pardon?
The agenda.
We are
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock again. No, so they don't want to come interview at 11.
Well,
Right.
We advertise through the 9th, and then we can discuss on the 13th.
Sure.
Does that give us enough time?
I will say, looking at Planning Commission's anticipated schedule, looks like they will have a couple of issues before them in December. Right now, they do not have anything for the November agenda.
Okay.
That could change, but. And
If
so
we
their
don't-
first meeting in December would be December the 6th.
Okay.
should we have you refresh the zoning appeals board people for that, because we're down, looks like
We're
three
down
members
to
on
the
that.
minimum amount for a
Right.
quorum, so we definitely do need individuals for that, so we can advertise both.
We just advertise all vacancies.
Yeah, let's advertise with the deadline of the 9th. We can discuss on the 13th.
Anything else under new business? We'll move on to first reading of ordinance and resolutions. Ordinance 2318, fiscal year 2019 appropriations budget on for a first reading. And looks like Mr. Rushing is ready to talk with us.
Well, good
Look at
evening,
make us look
Mr.
comfortable.
Mayor, members of council. Tonight's entertainment. Before you is the 2019 budget. You all received a hard copy 2 weeks ago. Nothing has changed since that time for the budget. Finance Committee did review it on October the 9th and recommend being passed as presented. I'm not going to draw on all the nuances and details, but be happy to answer any questions you all may have. Just some general highlights from the budget was that all appropriations were done within the limits set by the Warren County and Montgomery County Budget Commissions. The revenue is being conservatively projected from 18 to 19, which is a positive because most likely we'll see incremental changes in revenue in terms of increases about 1 to 3%, especially with the income tax. I'm basing the revenues off of 18 numbers. It's the same level of service as the 18 budget, with 3 exceptions to that. We are moving 2 part-time positions to full-time, one being a part-time police officer position to full-time, there being a seasonal service worker moving from a seasonal service worker to a full-time service worker. And in addition, adding a full-time finance clerk to assist with the operations here at Town Hall. All the operating funds met our newly approved policy, reserve policy of 20%. So all funds meet that limit. And as I mentioned, nothing has changed since the Finance Committee reviewed it and recommended a passage. So I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
I don't think we have any. You've done a very good job the last time.
Thank you, sir.
Have we left any department wanting things? I know there's a need and a want difference, but coming from where I work and knowing what we want and needs, so I'm just thinking about our road guys and the police and as far as equipment and stuff. Have we kind of satisfied everyone? Julie might be able to answer.
Yeah, I'll be honest, over the years of doing the budget, we used to kind of give a unfunded list of mandates. Early in my career, it was sort of the joking street sweeper, things that we would really like to have, but we realize, they're not feasible. And I think with our current department heads, we like to operate in the possible category. There's always additional things to want. By council in the years past able to keep up in our rollout schedules in all of our departments, that has proved vastly important to us to be able to very conservatively yet progressively grow with the time. So like the equipments, we don't, we've been able to spread out so we don't need to buy 3 dump trucks all in one year. So we've been able to keep up on that rollout schedule. It is a conservative approach, like we only buy 1 police cruiser a year. So our police cruisers, run, 7 years old, which in the police world is double the average age of what they should be. But so I would say that there are items that are always left off the budget, but we've gotten so good at prioritizing what we really need and what we know we can sustain that we don't ask for things that we know that we cannot afford. If that helps answer your question.
Any other discussion? Well, that'll be on for a second reading at our next council meeting. Oh, yeah, I guess you better.
An ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the municipality of Carlisle, Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019.
That'll be on for a second reading at our next council meeting. We have no second and third readings of ordinance resolutions or no executive session this evening, so we have a motion to adjourn. Well, there's a community events committee immediately following. That is Mr. McIntosh, Mrs. Tankersley, and Mr. Humphreys is on that committee.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh,
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell,
Yes.
Mr. Humphreys,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Winkler.
Yes. We are adjourned.